When you say throbbing, you say something is leaving from its natural state, returning to it. That is the idea of throbbing. Your heart is throbbing. It is leaving its natural state or whatever initial point, returning to it. That's what the idea of throbbing is. Life is throbbing in you. It is leaving, returning, leaving, returning. Your lungs are throbbing. It's inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. In your cellular level, things are throbbing. At your atomic level, things are throbbing. You know, temperature, the very idea of temperature means something is vibrating. They say molecules vibrating is what gives rise to temperature. Molecules are throbbing. The moment there is temperature, there is a throbbing, which means something is leaving and returning, leaving and returning. So when something throbs in this finite sense, it cannot remain uninfluenced by measurement. It will get measured in some way, it will get subjected to measurement. I talked of heart and lungs and whatever. There are bigger cycles. A cycle, a throbbing is happening to you in one day. You are returning to an inert state, deep sleep, you're coming up. You're returning to it, manifesting. You are throbbing in one day. If you are a little more sensitive, you will see that you are actually throbbing in 1 month also. Something during the new moons, something will go, will go to sleep. It becomes manifest in your metabolism also. Your metabolism will start going towards some kind of rest. During new moon, it will become a little more active during full moon. It is just throbbing at the monthly level.
And I have been seeing this myself. Since last 3 years or so, I have seen that my hunger goes down during new moon days. Like clockwork, it goes down. This is probably because of the practice of Shambhavi Mahamudra, other yogic kriyas and Hatha Yoga. Around 4 to 6 days around new moon, the hunger will be very less. As new moon is approaching, hunger will gradually reduce. I will eat lesser and lesser. And 1 or 2 days, the body will naturally do fasting. Then again, the hunger will gradually increase.
I think these different cycles that you are undergoing at the physical level, that is what they poetically expressed in various ways. They said that for Pitris, 1 month is 1 day. They are not talking about somebody somewhere, they're talking about a layer of reality in you. It may have something to do with your genetic memory, and therefore that monthly cycle was connected to Pitris. Maybe, I'm inferring, I don't know. But what I know is there is a monthly cycle. There is something getting reflected at the body. At some layer of your physicality, there is a monthly cycle happening. At some other level of your physicality, a yearly cycle is happening. You will notice that in Dakshinayana, there is some kind of inertia setting in. In Uttarayana, there is some kind of liveliness happening. There is a throbbing happening in you in a yearly cycle also. And this, they said, is 1 day of the Devas. They are not talking about somebody somewhere in some other loka. They are talking about a reality, a layer of physical reality in you. Different layers of memories in you, how they are throbbing. And there may be much bigger cycles also. So like this, you are throbbing in a year, and because it is happening in this context, reality, 1 year will pass. Your throbbing one time is 1 year will pass. You throb in another way, 1 month will pass. If you throb in another way, 1 day will pass. If you throb in another way, your heart or lungs, few seconds will pass. If you throb at the level of atoms, maybe very microsecond, nanosecond will pass. What this means is, if it goes to its very core, it will throb timelessly. It will throb continuously, but timelessly. Now it will no more be subjected to time. It will throb so vigorously, you at the very core are throbbing so vigorously that it escapes measurement. It escapes time. You are leaving the same point, coming back to the same point. A cycle is happening, but nothing is moving. A flow is happening, but it is constant. And there is, I'm talking about you, that continuous reality is happening in you right now. life is imploding upon itself every moment. It is imploding, imploding, imploding. It is not a death-like state. It is not inertia. It is throbbing. Something is throbbing. It is dynamic. That's why I was pointing out. Continuous. The word continuous itself is a paradox. It's a paradoxical word. It means something is dynamically flowing. It means constant also. So if you see what it absolutely implies this. Something is absolutely constant, unchanging, but it is dynamically changing. It is birth and death happening at the same time. It is living and returning happening at the same time. And the longing of living beings is to arrive at that point where both life and death will be negated, but both are happening at the same time. You cannot grasp it through the intellect. In whichever way affirmatively you put it, it will be wrong. You can say it is beyond birth and death. At the same time, you can say both birth and death are happening at the same moment for it. See, although Upanishads and the spiritual teachers will say, this is one way they say that there is presently birth and death cycle, and the purpose of spirituality is to overcome the cycle of birth and death and get liberated. It's an affirmative statement they're making. It is not absolutely true. Why? Because what you're actually doing is you're compressing the birth and death cycle into a point where birth and death is happening every moment. You are not transcending birth and death, but you are subjecting yourself to it every moment. And therefore, it will happen to you timelessly. So you overcoming birth and death cycle is not literally true. One way it is true, another way it is not. Do you see whatever affirmative statements you make, you cannot take it as reality. It can be expressed opposite way also. And that is the problem with spiritual teachings. What has happened with these Upanishads is, but whenever one teacher expressed it in one way, they took it as the reality and they held on to it and they made it a theory. You cannot make it. You can say it is beyond birth and death. At the same time, you can say it is immersed, so deeply immersed in birth and death, much more deeply immersed in birth and death than you are now.